Welcome to Live at 5.
Welcome. It's July 25th. I'm not going to go too far into the summer.
Right.
July 25th. I'm Andy Lefkowitz.
I'm Ryan Lee Gilbert. And we have a wonderful guest for you today. We have Tony nominee and current Curvy Widow star Nancy Opel joining us in a little bit. Yes, which we're very excited about. But first, we have some really exciting news today.
We do. So we have more casting for the new play, The Parisian Woman, which is by Beau Willimon. And we already knew it was going to star Uma Thurman and Josh Lucas. We found out today that it will also star Tony winner Blair Brown, who won a Tony in 2000 for Copenhagen.
Right, and now she's on Orange is the New Black as Judy King.
Yeah, indeed.
She's so great.
So really excited about that. The show will open at a theater to be announced on November 30th.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And it sounds she's playing like this mischievous power player, right?
Yes, soon to be chairwoman of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, all right. I mean, Beau Willimon, you know, he does House of Cards. So politics is his bread and butter.
Totally. So I'm on board with this.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited. So we found out today also that Stephen Spinella and Leslie Jordan will star in the new play Truman Capote.
I'm so excited.
Debuting at American Repertory Theater. Stephen Spinella will play Andy Warhol, and Leslie Jordan will play Truman Capote.
Which is genius casting.
Genius casting.
I'm
so excited about it. Now, it's so interesting because this work is based off of a piece that Warhol and Capote wrote together, but never came to be.
Right, they thought they were like destined to write a Broadway play together, right? Yeah.
So Michael Mayer, hitmaker Michael Mayer, is directing it, and it's going to run from September 9th through October 13th at American Repertory Theater in Cambridge.
That is a must-see.
Yeah,
as far as
so excited. I'm hoping it comes to New York.
Right. I know a big play that you and I both love this season, Lucas Nate's A Doll's House Part 2.
Yes.
So original stars Tony winner Laurie Metcalf, along with Chris Cooper and Condola Rashad. They played their last performances on Sunday.
Yes.
So we have, now we have Julie White, Stephen McKinley Henderson, and Aaron Wilhelmi joining the cast this evening.
Yes.
And kicking off like the next round of A Doll's House Part 2. And Jane Howdy show.
Yes. Sticks around.
She's sticking around for a little bit.
She's phenomenal.
Totally. Also, Tony winner Laura Benanti, who we all love. Yes. So it is the 1-year anniversary of her debuting her Melania Trump performance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Yes.
So she went back last night to the show and talked a little bit about how she formed that impression. She had this great quote saying, like, we are all Melania Trump. We are all reluctantly, being the operative word, married to Donald Trump. She was so wonderful and so charming, so hilarious as usual. So make sure you check that out on the site. Yeah.
So we have winners for the Helpmann Awards, which honor the best of Australia theater, which were just announced. So Michael James Scott, who is a Broadway veteran who you might have seen open the show in Something Rotten, won the award for Best Featured Performance for his performance in Aladdin as the genie in Australia. Jerry Mitchell, who won a Tony for his choreography in Kinky Boots, was honored with the Helpmann Award for his work in that show in Australia. And Trey Parker and Casey Nicola won Helpmann Awards for their direction of Book of Mormon, which also took home the Helpmann Award for Best Musical.
Wow.
Yes.
Big night for those.
Australia has some good theater.
They have good taste.
Indeed. So this phenomenal production of Long Day's Journey into Night, that was playing the Bristol Old Vic last year in England, is now transferring to the West End, and Jeremy Irons and Leslie Manville will reprise their performances in this revival directed by Richard Eyre.
Right. So that if you live across the pond there,
oh my God, check it out.
Yeah, make sure you take the opportunity to see this.
Indeed. So that's going to run January 27th through April 8th at Wyndham's Theatre in London.
Right. Also, as we've been reporting, and as has been known, Alkidiateo Naudawan is currently in Natasha Pierre in The Great Comet of 1812, and we finally got our first look of at him as Pierre, and that's on the site, and he will be in that show through September 4th.
Excellent.
So make sure you check out the photo,
He
and
looks
then
awesome.
he looks incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yes, and you've got Ingrid in the show still right now, so make sure you go see that show ASAP with those two. Speaking of Kinky Boots with Jerry Mitchell, so Cyndi Lauper recently did an interview with current Kinky Boots star Brendon Urie. They went on ABC and talked about his time in the show, and so she handpicked Brendon Urie.
Wow.
I believe her manager turned her on to him as a frontman for Panic at the Disco,
Okay.
and then she thought, you know what, I think that young man could do this part, and she says he could be a movie star.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
we are an office filled with Brendon Urie fans.
Yes. Oh my
So
gosh.
we could have told you, Cyndi. But no, she's a big fan of his. He's doing great numbers for the show. So yeah, super exciting.
Indeed. So we have a new episode of TV Time, and that is Michael Wartella's vlog. Michael Wartella, who's playing Mike TV in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory right now. So the episode is on the site. He actually gets a backstage visit from his little son Hunter, who's so adorable.
The cutest thing in the
And
world.
there's some serious advice that you can check out in the video.
Yeah, Mike Wartella gets a little serious at the end, but it's such good advice, and he takes it so well. It's wonderful.
It's a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah. The innovative theater troupe Bedlam, which had a lot of success with their new take on Sense and Sensibility off Broadway.
They like strip everything down.
Yes,
it's very
and
cool.
it's really cool. They have a new take on Peter Pan that is going to play off Broadway's Duke at 42nd Street from November 11th to December 23rd.
Yeah, Peter Pan, the property that just keeps on giving.
It sure does.
We love Peter Pan.
This sounds especially interesting. They're going to have a handful of ensemble actors playing 25 characters, including pirates, the Lost Boys, Indians, Captain Hook, just kind of stripped down.
Yeah, it sounds super cool, and they've had great success with this stuff.
They sure have.
Awesome.
And that's it for the news today.
All right, I think so, yeah.
So we'll be back here in a bit with Nancy Opel from Curvy Widow.
So come back.
Yes.
Welcome back. Bobby Goldman and Drew Brody's new musical comedy, Curvy Widow, is now in performances at Off-Broadway's West Side Theater, where it will officially open on August 3rd. I recently chatted with Goldman and star Nancy Opel during a preview event to find out why this tale of a 50-something widow thrust back in the dating game is a must-see this summer. Curvy Widow is based on the real-life experiences of Goldman, who used her ventures into online dating services, dreadful first dates, and sex sites as material for the show's story, something she wasn't entirely sure would be successful.
What happened is a group of serious people at serious publishing houses said, write it. You have to. So I did, thinking everybody would tell me it was no good and leave me alone. And the next thing I know, we're doing it. So no, this is not, I'm being kicked and screamed, dragged into this. Otherwise, why would I put, honest to God, my vaginal dryness on stage, which is part of the big number of gynecological tango?
This is a mostly autobiographical story about Bobby Goldman, who wrote the book to the show. She co-wrote with Drew Brody, our composer-lyricist, and it's basically about her life after her husband, James Goldman, passed away very suddenly. I think most women have a story like this if they've lost someone in their life, whether it's divorce or widowhood or your kids go to college or whatever. You find yourself kind of on your own. But the thing that I like about it most, which doesn't appear in a lot of dramatic work, a woman almost always is relying on a man for something.
Tony nominee Nancy Opel portrays Bobby in the show, and both women give credit to young composer Drew Brody for making the musical score work on a side-splitting and tear-jerking level.
The thing that I find kind of uncanny about Drew Brody, there's emotional connection, I think, to his lyrics.
I love what he does, and he is definitely the moral center, because I'm not. So there's always that Drew voice, Bobby, we can't do that.
For theatergoers craving an unconventional musical romp, Curvy Widow is not only a showcase for Opel's vocal and comedic chops, but also a theatrical treat that's left audiences raving.
If you
Wipe away the night. to spur, man to man, queen to queen on a par, standing face to
Welcome back, everybody. We are joined by Nancy Opel, star of Curvy Widow, Tony nominee Nancy Opel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh,
I'm
it is our
happy to be here.
pleasure to have you. So I can't wait to talk about Curvy Widow with you. So I had the opportunity very recently. You had a preview event, and I got a first look at this musical, which is it's a musical comedy. It's hilarious. The music is fantastic. Tell us a little bit about, for anyone who isn't familiar right now with Curvy Widow, what it's all about and why they should be excited about it.
Well, you should be excited because I am also a mischievous power player.
That's right, like Blair Brown.
Like Blair Brown.
That's right.
And I sing. No, actually. You know, I'm a woman of a certain age who rather suddenly finds herself alone, finds herself widowed, as many people my age find themselves, whether through widowhood or divorce or a number of other things that can happen. You suddenly find, like, I've been taking care of people for so long now, what am I doing?
Right.
You know, and I honestly think that part of the journey is also about not mistaking habit for loneliness.
Good
Do you know?
point, yeah.
Because you get to be a caretaker and you go, oh, I'm doing these things. This is my quotidian existence. I
Right.
take care of this, I take care of him, I take care of this, I do the dry cleaning, I do this and that. And then you suddenly find yourself, you know, at loose ends.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
go, that must mean I need to go find someone. You know, that means I'm lonely, I need to pair up again.
Right.
So my character, Bobby, does do all kinds of things like that. You know, she goes,
does.
oh, I'm lonely. I need to go out on dates. And this sort of path kind of takes her through all sorts of permutations of dating and sex. Yes, sex.
Sex, yes.
Yes, sex over 55.
Exactly.
Which honestly is kind of part of the sort of the interesting kind of verboten quality of what women usually represent in the theater. At my age, we are the granny down the street, or, you know, the crazy mother-in-law, or the evil stepmother.
Right,
Nothing wrong with doing those roles.
No, these are...
But it's very unusual and freeing to be the protagonist.
Right. And so we were talking about before, and we can go a little bit into the background, but so Curvy Widow it's an autobiographical piece. Bobby Goldman, the widow of James Goldman.
Yes, who wrote Lion and Witter,
Right.
The Follies.
Right. So when he passed away, she found herself alone, and she moved, and she started this new life, and she joined, I think it was Match.com
Yes,
is what
she
she
did.
joined.
Yes, she did.
And it just took her on this journey, and she started, and she is very open about, she started having lots of sex.
Lots of sex.
Lots of wonderful sex, you know, when she found herself in her mid-50s.
Yep.
And, but this began as a play, as a solo piece,
Yeah,
right?
it did become. It did start life as a solo piece. In fact,
And you read for that, right?
I didn't read for it. I read it
Gotcha.
in her living room, and she completely forgot I did it.
No way.
But here's the thing. I think subconsciously she remembered it was me. That's
Yeah, that
that's
you
what I
got
think.
tucked away.
I
and
think
yeah.
I think that she just goes, there's something about that Nancy Opel, it was back here
Absolutely.
somewhere. Because when it sort of became a 7-person musical, she goes, get Nancy Opel. I mean, that's
Yeah,
really how it
I
happened.
mean-
They just rang me and said, will you do this?
Right.
And so that was the start of it. And we have done 2, now 3 productions
Right.
in rapid succession, because we really went into rehearsal for this for the first time in October of last year.
Right, that's what we were saying at the event, and just audiences have been just clamoring
Yep.
for it. I mean, so you started in Asheville, right? And then you were the last show at the George Street Playhouse,
Yeah,
right?
and
in
that was
Jersey?
it was interesting the way that happened. They sort of called me up, the producers again. Hey, you know what? We want to do one more out of town after Asheville, North Carolina. Do you know a place? I said, I have the perfect place. Their demographic is perfect for this show. I'm going to call them.
Calling a favor.
So I called
yeah.
David Saint, out at George Street Playhouse, and sent him all the stuff. We all did our thing, and he calls me up, and he's very dry, and he was like, Nancy, can you tell me about this? I said, listen, on the page it's weird, man. I agree with you. It's a little weird, but when you see it on stage, we get away with some of the naughtiest little bits,
you do.
and everybody just go. There is no feeling that people say, "Oh, how unseemly," which is awesome. We didn't know at first.
No,
we didn't know
and
how
you were
people
getting.
would.
I mean, and we were. This was
it.
the theater people in this preview event, and you were getting guffaws from us in the audience.
Well,
that's the kind of work that
there's just a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, from top to bottom, you have wonderful people involved. I mean, you have Peter Flynn directing, who is incredible.
He's a great director. He's the sweetest man. He's a wonderful dramaturg. He's really, really awesome at getting to the point and in a very spare, clean, easy way.
Right.
And the writers have been ego-free and amazing. So it has been really collaborative. I mean, they'll just go, hey, let's try to work on that joke a little bit, So I feel like I have input.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that everything that comes out of your mouth is going to appear on the stage, but that you are heard. And you see, that's also an important thing when you're working, that you feel like you're heard. And I also think that that's part of the charm of the play.
Sure,
That these folks who are often, the best friend's mother or the whatever, we're heard, and it's a refreshing turn for me.
One of the fascinating things, so the music that is written by this young composer, Drew Brody, who did the music for Oh Hello, which was on Broadway.
By the way, Drew, in case you're wondering, is a man Drew.
Right, like he is
like an
a
Andrew
young
man
who is writing these hysterical sometimes,
but heartfelt,
gut-wrenching.
I don't really know how he channels for a young man, how he channels the emotional landscape of a middle-aged woman.
Right.
But he does.
He does brilliantly.
I know, and he does it. It's great, and he can write funny, and he can write poignant too.
They both, Bobby Goldman, Andrew Brody, both spoke just so lovingly of each other when I was talking to both of them, and she was saying that he's the much more sort of
nice,
the moral compass.
Did I say nice?
Things, where he'll be the one like, Bobby, we can't say that.
Yeah. I do a little of that too, though. I'd be like, you know what I think I'd like to do here. I just sort of soften the edge a little bit.
And for it's an 85-minute show, and you are just non-stop throughout the whole thing.
This may or may not be good.
No, it's wonderful. But you're doing everything. I mean, you sing a ton.
A ton.
You are all over the stage. I mean, it's a sexual show, so I mean, you are writhing and moving around.
There's not there's not that much writhing.
But it's like you're very physical, and you're employing everything.
It's a soupçon.
Exactly. Is that? It must just feel so wonderful to be a part of something.
It's fun, and
that pushes all of your.
And also the kind of response that we get. I don't think I've ever walked out of the theater in the last several incarnations of it that I didn't have a bunch of people waiting to just go, this really meant a lot to me. And you go, really? We just thought it was kind of funny. We realize that there's something else there. And you know what? That's the hard thing. You don't set out to write that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
write an important
you
piece.
set out to write. Well, what they were setting out to write was kind of a raunchy, cute, sexy romp.
Right.
You know, and there's that. That is there, but there's sort of this other layer that we just kind of weren't prepared for. We at first we would come off stage and go, did you get the kind of response that we got on? Did someone come up to you and say, this means so much to me, this gives me hope? And I'm going, okay. Or someone might walk up and take me by the hand and say, you know what, I love this show so much, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. And I go, you know what, you don't have to apologize. you are not
It's
the
for you,
you are
like,
not the
it's-
first person who's
Right.
who's cried to me. I mean, you know, it really does catch some people.
Right.
You know?
So I'm sure we should take some questions from those of you out there watching that. I have to say, when I first moved to New York City, I moved here in 2001, and one of the very first musicals I saw upon getting here was Urinetown. Penelope Pennywise was a definitive performance for me at like joining this a little bit, this community. I just want to hear about what that experience was like for you, and do you wish, like, I wish Urinetown would come back, like, take us.
You know, it was, in a way, a similar experience insofar as you don't know how the subject matter is going to go over.
Right,
you know,
especially
because John Rando, the director, asked me to do a reading of it. It was right after we were all at a a New Year's party for the millennium, and he said, "Hey, I've got this show. It's called Urinetown. Don't make any decisions." And I went,
Let me
no.
finish.
If you think it's good,
Right.
let's take a look. And so those were the days when they had to messenger stuff to your house. Yeah, I know. So the Pony Express rode up, jump off, hand me the stuff. I go, that's fantastic. But I listened to it all and I went, okay. If we don't mess this up, this is a hit.
Yeah, and I remember reading something where they were talking about it. They were writing through it, and they were like, "We want Nancy for this. I know Nancy's taking a little break, but we want Nancy. It needs to be Nancy."
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, they just begged me. Because really, no, I was
Make
like,
them
I
beg.
was like, I don't know if I can afford to do it because it was very, very, very offy off Broadway. Well, no, and they begged me to do it. But when you've got producers and director and everything, we're all at the West Bank Cafe, right? And they're calling me on the phone, like going, "You have to do it," you know.
Yeah, you
do have to do it. And so, like I said, there was something similar about it. And part of what was similar is that I felt that I had the freedom to sort of do what I do best, and you can kind of pick and choose the stuff that you want, but it's great to be in a room with somebody like Rando because he's great that way. I mean, he just, he wants to see everything, and then, he'll pluck the fruit off the branches that he wants to throw it in the basket. But it's great to feel that your input is valued.
Totally,
yeah. And it was in that show.
And you can tell that, that performance, it is just burned into my memory.
Well, that was a really fun one. It was fun to do. The one thing I should have said no to were like the 30-pound actual real fireman's boots that I
yeah, that
I thought they were going to kill me.
Right, you could have maybe been like, I'm going to need some new footwear.
Those boots were nearly the death of me.
Right,
not the singing. It was the boots.
It was the boots. So it's the boots. Hey, footwear, very important.
Yeah.
Another production that a big production that you were part of that people have the most wonderful memories of, Sunday in the Park with George.
Sure.
Bradley would love to know your favorite memory from that production.
Yeah, that was a big one. See, I was in the original production of Evita. That was my first Broadway show.
That's right.
And my second one was
Person of Argentina.
Yes,
and then Evita.
Eva, yeah. But my second one was Sunday in the Park with George. And that was quite an experience because Evita was pretty much done by the time we got a hold of it, because Hal et al. Had done it over in London. So this was my first ground-up musical.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fraught with a lot of emotions because if you've never done anything like that before, it feels crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give you one story because it's a story that I will always sort of keep right here. We were at Playwrights Horizons, and we were all rehearsing something. Can't remember what it was, but we were all in the theater, and James Lapine came in and said, "Okay, Mandy's been working on this new song, so Paul Fort's going to play it, and he's going to go up and just sing it for all of us, okay? So we're all just going to listen." Okay. So he goes up to the front, and he sings finishing the hat. Oh, God. Can you imagine, like,
no.
being the human
I can't.
that hears this song, you know?
No.
And there's however many
How
of
do
us
you
that
work the rest of the
listening. Well, here's what happened. I was kind of standing towards the back, and Steve was down towards the stage. So Mandy sings, he finishes, and everybody kind of did this.
Yeah.
And they all, everybody kind of like staggered away, you know, because let's get back to work. Stagger away, stagger away, stagger away, right? And I was standing towards the back. I looked down at Steve and I said, I think I have to go home.
I get it.
And he said, why, are you sick? And I said, no. I said, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh.
And he looked at me and his face sort of lit up and he said, did you really like it?
Oh my God, that story.
And I'm going, you're Steven's son. Of course I loved it. Of course I loved it. You know, but here's what it reminded me of. It reminded me that we are all humans and that we all need that sort of
right,
feeling.
That feedback.
Yeah, because I think that you
reassurance.
get to the place where you're Steve or anybody of that kind of notoriety and note and genius like to hear, you know, like to hear that people like their stuff.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and so it was kind of my lesson in don't be afraid to tell people that you're kind of cowed by and sort of overwhelmed by. It's okay to go up and tell them that they're great.
Yeah, of
you know?
course. No, that's wonderful. Thank you. What a great memory. What a great story.
Yeah.
Our friend Josh would like to know what you were thinking that time you flew upside down during the Honeymoon in Vegas finale.
You know what? I've got some good ones. Seth Rudetsky's favorite is the one where I was in the Casa Rosada dress and fell on my face and then couldn't get up. But I'm not going to tell that story again because you can just go watch Seth Rudetsky like one of like 10 times that he's filmed that. But, okay, here's the deal. On that, we knew that I should be flying at the end. I just fly to heaven and let him have his beautiful wife down on earth.
Right.
Because I've been haunting him the whole show. So we said, yes, 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 that has to happen. Well, the day they decided to do the rehearsal was the day of Peter Pan Live. Now,
of course.
How many people do you think were available to come over and help me fly my butt out into the wings? You know, there was a guy, and he was a great guy, from Foy. But, you know, we had like a half-hour thing.
Yeah.
And it goes, okay, now this is what we're going to do. We're going to clip you here, ba-ba-da, very quick sort of a thing. Get it, good. So I said, oh, yeah, I got it. So it was terrifying because, you know, I was just waiting up in the flies for a really long time, and then they move you across and then down and then over. So we do the rehearsal that day. Everything's cool. The next day, you know, we're going to do it. So I'm up in the flies, and I'm waiting. And this is the real deal. So they take me across, and somehow, like my hand kind of ticked, kind of clipped.
Just glimpsed.
Just tick. The proscenium, the little fake proscenium, tick, which made me go, doo, 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 doo.
Oh, no.
This is my head. Doo, 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 doo. And I realized as I'm going over slowly like that, I said, I'm not going to be able to turn myself around.
This is...
There's just no way. And I'm realizing it as I'm going, oh my gosh. And I wasn't even scared. I saw the ground coming at me, and I'm sort of like, I see the ground coming at me, and I went, Nancy, you're supposed to be singing. And I did.
I sang all the way
Betsy
down.
loves you. You know, and I sing the whole thing. Go be happy, Betsy loves you. Well, I said, what in the heck are they going to do now? There were 22 seconds left in the show, and we had to stop. It was so humiliating.
I mean, you're face down. Like
I was so face down. Bryn O'Malley and Rob McClure were like,
running to catch.
You know, because Rob was trying to tell me what I could do to turn over, you know, that would help. It would had something to do with like putting your arms down. I don't even know. But that was not going to happen. So they had to like,
Well,
me down into some stagehands' arms, and they flipped me over and went, yay.
well, you ended up pulling it off with flying colors, pun intended. But thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Please go see Curvy Widow. It is playing at the West Side Theater. You officially open on August 3rd.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Go see it. You will love it just like everyone else has. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I've had a great time.
Such a pleasure. Me too.
Well, thanks for having me. And if you loved me, you'd give me this. I wish you could see.
Oh, my watch.
This
Thank
watch.
you.
It is like, it's like.
I appreciate it.
It's like some kind of mystery miracle there.
It is.
It's
It
gorgeous.
is. But thank you so much, and make sure you come join us anytime, and make sure you watch tomorrow.
I
as
love
well.
your set.
Well,
It's
thank
absolutely
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you soon.